Hello, I'm Barry Brazelton. I've been a practicing pediatrician for 40 years, and as I travel around the country, setting is critical. I've always believed that next to love, the biggest gift you give your child is a set of limits. Day-to-day raising just how to deal with limit isn't always clear. In fact, it's probably the most difficult job any parent ever faces. Discipline, setting limits is not punishment, it's teaching. From the moment of birth, the child is looking to learn about limits. The first limits a baby searches for come in the form of routines. A regular feeding schedule, predictable bedtime. Establishing these is the earliest form of discipline. They help a child feel safe and secure, give him a feeling that there's something he can count on, and someone. You see, science tells you are the important person in your. First, your baby depends on you. Pretty soon, setting routines, calming, to want to eat on a regular schedule, to go to sleep and stay asleep herself.
Okay, I'll turn the light off.
Baby, how to fit into your day-night cycle, so she becomes a member of the family. What you're actually doing is setting predictable limits, teaching her how far she can go, pull herself. This is how your child will learn the rest of her. Some tips on creating. Every child into the sleep and feeding patterns your child really follows. Then use those established predictable schedules for your baby, routines she can count on, like reading a story or sing time. As he gets older, the routines, like the actual time he's supposed to go to bed. Teens, like all good limits, will give your child a feel of security. As you can see, setting limits is teaching. For a young child, every experience, and just to you, about routines, they expect you to teach them about to behave. It begins with imitation. Your baby watches you closely in each expression and gesture and begins to copy at an early age. That to imitate continues well into later childhood. So it's important you always show the behavior you want them to learn. The old phrase, do what I say, not what I just doesn't work with kids. Children are always trying to figure out the way their world works. From their very first days, they're on the lookout for cause and effect. You can see the earliest form of this with crying. What's really going on here? Hannah keeps dropping the toy, and Mom keeps picking it up. But is Hannah being naughty? I don't think so. She learned cause and effect. That Mom will get as long as she keeps at it.
No.
Manipulating? No. She's. So don't get angry with your child. If you have patience like Hannah, try to make a game of it. If you don't have the time, just remove the object she's throwing and try to find a way to get her interested in something else.
Good girl.
Actually, this is about the age, 9 months to a year or so, when a child's behavior first starts to call for what we usually think of as discipline. It's the age when babies are beginning to walk and to explore a whole new level of excitement and potential danger. Everything goes in the mouth. It's another way babies learn. This is also the time when a child first begins to be able to understand the concept and are testing it. It looks like he's just teasing. By testing, then checking out Mom's reaction, it's really how he's learning limits.
Allie, come
She's a little older and more advanced. She's almost at the point of handling the steps on her own.
Get down. Good girl.
Her
Nice
mom
job.
has done what every parent should. Taught her how to get herself out of trouble once she gets.
Down.
She's turning the limit and the lesson back to the child. And here's Tommy. He's already taken limit testing to an art form. Just watch.
Can't go near there, it's too hot.
In the limits and explains it.
Okay.
Later, Tommy comes up with an excuse to go near the stove and even manages to get some praise.
Thank you.
But then sneak attack.
No.
Why did he do it? I think it was his powerful curiosity.
Thomas, look at Mommy. Are you supposed to touch the oven?
Mom handles it well. First, she stays calm. Her tone is firm. Tommy knows she means business, but she doesn't yell or scold. Then, sure Tommy while she delivers her message.
What does Mommy say?
She explains it to him in words, then make sure he repeats it.
See this line right here? See that line? You need inside.
An issue where you have to term. We also understand that children learn by exploring and testing.
What are you doing?
It doesn't have to call for punishment.
Can I have that, Carrie?
At first, remove the child from, or
No, I'm sorry.
later, words work. Just watch. Avery is setting out for a bike ride.
Remember, you don't go near the street.
At an age when he's not crazy about told what to
How far are
do.
we supposed to go?
In situations like this, don't react to negativism. Stay calm but firm. Your child will get the message that what say goes.
Go ahead, right near the street.
Avery's mom has decided what's non-negotiable, and she's with it.
Far enough, Avery. That's where the sidewalk is. That's where you turn.
She's also teaching him his boundaries. And Avery's to being able to do it himself. A perfect example of limits as learning. With safety, you know exactly what you put over in the way of decide what's not and stick to it. You'll be surprised how your child will respond. But remember, for the first 6 to 9 months, the child really isn't able to understand right from wrong and isn't trying to manipulate you. Start testing limits at around 9 months. It's a natural part of development and means she's growing normally. Reinforce good behavior, and when correcting the bad, try not to lose control yourself. Remember, your child's watching you closely for cues on how he should behave. You know, as your child moves into his second year, a whole new set of issues arise. Actually, you make a whole new child has arrived, replacing that sweet, loving infant you've adored so much with a filled bundle of negativity. It's the terrible, and our parents feel naive. Colin's right in the middle of the twos. And Colin's mother longs for the time. Simple things like dressing and brushing weren't such daily battles. From about the age of 1.5, it's normal for a child to begin a search.
This way.
Again, the child is in control his world, and he wants to test that out.
Come on, Colin.
He's also having to learn to control himself. Colin's mom knows she can't so first she keeps him close by. Then she uses the opportunity to teach,
Colin, inside voices.
which is so much more valuable than just telling him no or not letting him come in the first place.
Stay by Mommy.
It's tough, but with Mom's help, Colin is learning to control himself,
You have to push back, James.
which he does so nicely in putting the candy.
Mommy's gonna make some toast.
Sometimes picking battles is half the battle won.
Sit down in your chair. Come on, sit down nicely, please.
Actually, battle shouldn't be the way to look at it.
Sit down nicely, please. Walk.
Colin won't sit safely while Mom lunch.
Here's your juice. You won't sit down for
In a
Mommy?
case like this, go to Plan B.
Hey, but we're gonna have to try and make the toast get through my arms then. Hey, you wanna press the button?
It may be more difficult and time-consuming, but in the end, better for everyone. Another tip with toddlers, give them either-or choices. Kevin is tired and he doesn't know what he wants.
Juice? You want milk? No. Milk or juice?
Mom sets limits by narrowing his choices, while still letting him feel the one calms down, avoids the tantrum. Tantrums are perfectly normal during the twos. A child gets overloaded and is controlled.
How about we carry them?
Handle it by first being calm yourself. Yell at your child will only make things worse. Restrain her if you have to, but do it gently.
You hold them?
A child at this isn't really being bad. She's lost control and just can't. So understand, ending once it's all over. As children progress from the second to the third year, Their brains are developing in exciting new directions. There's an explosion in language, opening up whole new possibilities for communication. You with your child, and vice versa. A 3-year-old is discovering the power of words. He can express how he feels, for better or worse.
The minute is over.
Because they understand better, you can get across what you want better too.
You have to put lotion on you so you don't get sunburned.
Some tips.
Let's see what's in here, okay? What you
Is clear.
You have to make your decision and stick with.
Next, label the behavior, not the child.
I love you, Mary, but I don't in his book.
Your message should be, I love you, I just don't like what you're doing right now.
Don't play in the car.
This is also the age of growing reason. You'll be able to start explaining to your child why certain behavior is allowed and what the
You can get hurt. You can do it. It can hit your fingers.
We did it.
Thinking into the future about consequences is an important lesson for a 3-year-old.
And what is this?
Into the bathroom.
Hey, ma'am.
His mother is taking out and knows that if he does now, he's likely to have an accident later.
You have to because you're going to have an accident. Remember we had the accident?
Explains he understands,
Let's turn around and go potty.
but Graham resents being pushed and digs in.
Like Sean and Peter and Daddy?
What should Mom do?
No, that's not.
She knows the consequences for Graham and her later on, but the more she pushes, the more he resists.
You want privacy?
The stakes just keep getting higher and higher.
I know.
Finally, it explodes. After the blow-up, Mom wisely decides to back off. An accident later wouldn't be fun, but it's not worth all-out battle. And guess what? With the pressure off, nature takes its course.
I did it.
You did it! Good boy!
Here's another situation that's often a struggle, meal times.
2 hands.
By the time a child is 2 or 3, most parents expect their kids to sit and eat with the family.
Good job.
That's fine as long as you understand just how much your child can do at his age.
Helen, out from underneath table.
I think that even at 3, it's too much to expect them to sit through a whole meal. They get bored and naturally start acting up.
In your mouth first.
My advice, let them eat what
Put your
they
finger-
let. To force a child to sit there is just asking for trouble.
Oh,
I'm full.
you're not full of.
And to force a child, as long as you offer nutritious foods, children usually get what they need.
Daddy, I want some of your ham.
Some of my hair.
Hey, Charlie, you need to pick a breakfast.
By offering them choices, ones that you control, making your expectations reasonable,
One bite? Okay.
you'll go toward turning mealtime into quality time for the family.
You're silly. We're clean.
Another classic, cleaning up. It's not something kids want to. Having to stop play and turn to something else is very tough on children.
Get back here.
It helps to warn your child ahead of time when play will end, like saying, we're going to have to stop in 5 minutes.
Clean up, everybody.
Then try to make a game of cleaning up.
Clean up, everybody. Good
A
job.
little praise goes a long way.
Play-Doh with Mommy. Thank you, Jess.
In fact, use praise and encouragement whenever possible.
High five.
It shows child expecting,
Very nice picture.
as long as it's honest and matches the behavior being praised.
No.
Consistency.
Turn off the water.
Certainly, forbidding something one day and allowing it the next creates confusion. And one parent saying yes while the other says no, asking for manipulation.
Isabel, can we leave the A here?
But whether with your spouse, a caregiver, or your child's grandparents, there are going to be individual differences that kids quickly test. Don't worry about it too much. Just try to agree on overall rules beforehand and work out the details come up.
Okay, Rachel. So, oh, see, she didn't like
With
that.
more than one child, setting limits gets more complicated,
She knows how to feed herself.
especially if the older sib is only a toddler himself. The first issue is safety. You've just got to expect the toddler to be jealous, no matter how loving you've taught him to be.
You love brother, huh?
It's important never to leave the newborn alone with the toddler who just doesn't understand what can hurt or even damage.
That's mine.
As the sibs get older, they begin to fight.
No kidding.
Don't worry, it's quite natural. I believe it's an important way they learn, and they'll learn to work it out between themselves.
Then you're gonna have to go into timeout.
The real problem comes when the parent gets in the middle of it. So try to stay out of their minor squabbles. When you have to get involved, for safety's sake, try to show them how to look out for themselves the next time around. For example, sharing a toy is one of the most common issues.
We're gonna do the minute sharing.
You can teach them how to take turns, but try to set limits back to them. So let go. Teaching that they can set limits for themselves and feel better or confident when they do.
Why are you kicking the toys?
But what about those times when your child just listens, despite all you've to avoid it? The way it's getting worse and worse.
I see a boy that looks like
First, like Justin is doing. Will come things.
just like Justin.
If that doesn't work, try to remove your child so he can get under control. Timeouts work for many parents.
Didn't I tell you not to play with that motorcycle on the...
Let's watch Jalome's den.
Sit right here.
He first removes Jalome from the situation to calm down. After 2 minutes, make sure Jalome knows what he did wrong.
Motorcycle scratched the floor, and right, Daddy told you that you could play with the motorcycle in your room? That I didn't want the motorcycle on the floor? Are you gonna...
Labels the behavior, not the child.
It wasn't what you did, not bad boy, but what you did was bad. I didn't like that, okay? You gonna promise Daddy we're gonna have a little deal there?
And ends with love and forgiveness.
You gotta give me 5. If you could give me 5, I know that you got
It's a wonderful example of setting limits by teaching.
N-O spells no.
Setting limits is a long-term job and often a thankless task,
What?
one filled with stress and emotion. And it's no fun having to be the one who has to discipline. But it's a parent's opportunity and responsibility.
Will you come inside with Mommy?
Whatever you do, never into physical punishment. Shaking, spanking, they may stop the immediate behavior, but they're not really effective in the run and can teach your children lessons no one wants them to learn.
I love you.
What when they drive you to the wall and you get so angry?
As parents, we all have to learn how to manage our anger. My first reaction is to yell. And I yell very hard. I do this. I say, you know, Justin, get away from me. Just get away from me. I don't want to speak to you right now. You know, and then I feel bad because I did this.
And you say it almost as if it were a learning process, as if you were the child having to learn how to manage your anger.
It's because I'm very easygoing, but once I get to a point, I can really lose my... Sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing. So I know I have to take myself out of the situation. And I usually, and I'll put her in a room, and I'll put her gate up, and I'll just get out. And I'll go out in the yard, or, you know, or take a... But know that you at that point when you could hurt your own child.
Tomorrow, I think you put your finger on it. The first thing is to realize I'm out of control. Then get out of it and get yourself back in control so you can go back and pick her up and love her and say, you know, every time you do that, I have to stop till you can stop off. And that's the goal. Now, another thing that I might suggest to you guys is that you might pull back and say, what is it that upsets me every time? What pushes my buttons? And it might help you the time it happens. How about spanking? People were spanked. I sure as heck
I was
spanked.
being spanked as a child, and my brothers and I were all close in age, and we were closet, sort of just sweat. And our general consensus was that our parents were mean and bad. And I can't really remember what we were spanked for, only feeling like it was unjust and we didn't deserve it. And I know now that the spanking is not what I want my children to do. I don't want them to hit others to solve a problem.
Can I say that I think that culture plays a big role in this?
Tell me
Culture.
about it.
Well, I think, and where I come from, there's nothing, well, I don't know, I don't want to stereotype anyone else, but there was nothing wrong with every now and then. It's something that I did carry with.
When we were younger, there's 4 of us and I'm the youngest, we were always told, wait till your father gets home. My father had a leather belt, which was used strictly for spankings. But again, it's not something that and it's not something that you want to do to your own child.
What about that, Sherry? It not only didn't feel good, but you don't want to perpetuate that kind of pattern?
Most of the time, I think you can prevent a situation from happening again by talking to the child, explaining why they shouldn't have done what they did, using timeouts, taking something away that means a lot to them. And so there is go around it than just spanking the child.
Well, my dad once, for talking back was a definitely no-no. And his hands were really, really big. And he slapped me really, really hard. I remember going to school with
Pattern from one that we really don't feel worked. I think we have to remember that discipline is teaching, not punishment. And what we're teaching our children when we hit them or spank them is that violence is the way to settle things. I think we're all looking for discipline that works, and it has to be gentle and respectful. It has to be firm and consistent. All of hard to pull off. But at the same time, when you pick the child up and love them and say, every time you do this, I have to stop you, you can stop yourself. That's the ultimate goal for them. Remember, next to discipline is the most important thing you can give a child. Because in the end, setting limits means love.
Dandelions? Oh, they're beautiful. Thank you. I get a hug?